Good morning and welcome to Leon County Today with Sheriff Walt McNeil. I'm Shonda Knight, and Sheriff, we have a topic today. You see these news stories sometimes about someone who's done decades in prison and then being set free after evidence coming forth. It really is shocking.
It is, and oftentimes, Shonda, the circumstances behind that person spending that much time and then being released is because somewhere along the way, someone didn't check all the aspects of the crime that was committed, and an innocent person goes to prison. And that's perhaps the worst thing we can do in law enforcement, is send the wrong guy to prison for something he or she didn't do, and the right guy is out there on the streets still involved in crime. That's why it's so important to us to make sure we get it right the first time.
Absolutely. And today our guest is the director of the Innocence Project of Florida. He's going to talk a little bit about their work, but this is something you're very familiar with.
Very much so. We made that one of our campaign promises when I was the ICP president, the International Association of Chiefs of Police president, and we wanted to stamp it out, and we put a campaign together across the nation, quite honestly, to deal with those issues and problems. And we made significant progress in terms of how we go about identifying persons when they come into, and we arrest them and we're sitting there having a conversation. We got to do that the right way. We can't trick people into answering questions. And the Innocence Project stepped up and became a part of what we tried to do at the IACP. And I must say we've made some progress, but there's a lot more to be done.
Absolutely. Well, really looking to open up this topic, but it's one of those things that from a community standpoint that we want to make sure people are aware, because transparency to justice is paramount.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. If you can't stand up, as we say, in town square and say, this is what I did, and be proud of what you did, then perhaps you didn't do the right thing. And that's something we've tried to get across to law enforcement. It's not about just getting somebody arrested. It's about justice.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to delve into this topic today, everything you want to know about that process and how many people in our community are rallying around efforts like this. Stay tuned.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Kelly with Leon County Sheriff's Office Uniform Patrol with your Crime Tip Tuesday.
According to the United States Department of Transportation, over half of vehicle thefts are due to driver error, such as leaving your doors unlocked. When you arrive at your destination, park only in well-lit areas. Never leave your keys inside your vehicle once parked. Never forget to lock your vehicle's doors when exiting and let up the windows. Do not leave valuable items inside your car, especially where they are visible from the outside. Every time you park your car, make it a habit to check for items you shouldn't leave inside your vehicle.
That's your Crime Tip. Have a great day.
At the Florida Sheriff's Association, we are able to serve our sheriffs and Floridians thanks to our members' support. The FSA Member Perks program was created to give back to our members for all that they do. Members enjoy savings on restaurants, vacations, golf courses, car rentals, healthcare, movie tickets, theme parks, online shopping, and more. With over 300,000 offers, you'll always find ways to save. To learn more or to join the Florida Sheriff's Association, visit fsamemberperks.org.
Domestic violence knows no faith.
1 in 4 women experiences abuse in their relationship.
So most likely there are victims of abuse in your congregation.
Don't think it doesn't happen in your church
or synagogue
Or mosque.
Because it does.
It does.
It does.
Learn the signs of abuse
and how to help victims.
Know the many resources available in our community.
End the silence on domestic violence.
Contact the Domestic Violence Coordinating Council or the Refuge House Hotline.
Another teenager, victim to fake pills. That smells like big crime that needs to be stopped. Before buying pills online, think about this. Should buying prescription pills be this easy? Did you know that fake prescription pills may contain fentanyl, and an amount small enough to fit on the tip of a pencil can be lethal? Before buying pills from social media, think again. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org and go for real.
I'm a different kind of threat. You can't call the cops on me. I don't even have to break in. I'm invited.
Welcome back to Leon County Today. Today's conversation is an important one, focused on justice, accuracy, and trust in our criminal justice system. Joining me now is Seth Miller, Executive Director of the Innocence Project. Seth, thank you for coming on the show, and tell the audience about the Innocence Project. Exactly what is the Innocence Project, and how do you guys work with law enforcement?
For sure, thanks for having me here today. The Innocence Project of Florida is a nonprofit justice organization based out of Tallahassee, and our core mission is to find individuals in Florida's prisons and free them through use of new evidence like DNA testing or other evidence that indicates actual innocence. We have the distinction of being one of the few projects that has a transition services component, so when our clients are preparing to get out or are getting out, we help them return them to their family and help them rebuild their lives however long that takes. And one of the areas that I cross paths with you and other folks in law enforcement is we are working to affect policy changes, either the courts or the legislature, or just by working with law enforcement or prosecutor associations to change best practices in order to help prevent wrongful convictions in the future, which is really the lasting impact of our work. We're, as we would say, trying to put ourselves out of business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Seth, who are the people who usually come and seeks out the Innocence Project? Who are they, and where do they come from? What types of crimes are they involved in?
Yeah, it's really any type of crime, Sheriff. It's, we have a lot of people who have been convicted of murder or sexual battery or property crimes like robbery and burglaries and the like, and they're writing to us from prison. Sometimes it's their family members writing to us as well, and they're all saying the same thing. They're saying, hey, I did not commit the crime, I'm innocent. So we have a really tough task of trying to cull through those almost 1,000 new requests for assistance a year and look for the criteria that are the types of cases that we can dig into and try to demonstrate wrongful conviction.
You know, this idea of wrongful convictions, I suspect many people think that's a rare occurrence. How prevalent is it, and how are we making headway?
Well, I think, you know, it's a qualitative question. I think it's rare relative to the number of people that we send through the criminal justice system every day, week, month, year in the United States. But the best estimates by social scientists who have looked at this have said up to 4 or 5% of individuals who are incarcerated in prisons in the United States are there wrongfully convicted, actually innocent. So in a state like Florida that has 88,000 people in prison, you can do the math, that's 3,000 to 4,000 people they're wrongfully convicted. So that's a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we talked about the person, he or himself or herself is in prison and what that impact has on that particular person. What about the families? You mentioned just a moment ago that you guys are engaged with families. What does that look like, and how do you help the families?
It's really interesting because we always say that when someone is wrongfully convicted and wrongfully incarcerated, so is their family in many respects. And for those of our clients who have familial support, they end up wherever they end up in prison in Florida, and it could be far away from their family. And yet, I think about the mothers who are traveling many times a month, long distance at great expense, in order to see their sons and provide them whatever modicum of support they can provide them to give them the persistence and the fortitude to get through their ordeal.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about quite a lot in law enforcement is the trust component of our system, the criminal justice system. Can you talk about that in terms of what impacts that has on the system itself when you can't build that trust?
I think people generally trust law enforcement. I think the thing that's important is that everyone in the system, whether it's law enforcement, prosecutors, defense attorneys, when we realize that something has gone wrong and we made a grievous error, I think the trust comes in when the system works really hard to right that error. And where I think a lack of trust comes in is when there's resistance to doing the right thing to fix problems where we see them. And so it's a great opportunity, the work that we do, working side by side with prosecutors and folks in law enforcement, when all those stakeholders are working together to right a miscarriage of justice, that fortifies the trust in law enforcement and prosecutors in the system.
Well, thank you, Seth. When we come back, we'll talk about the organizations like the Innocence Project collaborations with law enforcement, and how these partnerships can strengthen investigative practices and help create a safe community. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, it's gonna be just plain hot out there.
In 70-degree weather, it takes only minutes for the inside of your car to heat up like an oven. At 104 degrees, heat stroke begins, followed by loss of consciousness. Every year, almost 40 children die of heat stroke after being forgotten in a vehicle. A simple change in daily routine is often the cause. Look before you lock. Brought to you by Kids in Cars.
I'm a firefighter.
A teacher.
I'm a farmer.
I'm a barber.
A waitress. A mom. We're all part of your community. Every day we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good,
others not so much.
But that's life. It's when you experience a moment of uncertainty. Something or someone's behavior that doesn't seem quite right.
These are the moments to take a pause.
Because if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not.
It's not about paranoia
or being afraid.
It's about standing up and protecting our communities.
One detail at a time.
Because a lot of little details can become a pattern.
We
trust our instincts.
Just like you should.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
An email from the post office? How do they even know my email address?
They don't. This is a bogus email sent by scammers that looks like it is coming from the Postal Service, or even the Postmaster General himself. The email contains fraudulent information about an attempted or intercepted package delivery, and provides a link to click on to find out when delivery is expected. But that click can activate a virus, which can steal personal information such as usernames, passwords, or financial account numbers stored on the computer or mobile devices. Here are some telltale signs that an email is bogus. It contains poor grammar or spelling errors. It states that immediate action must be taken or there'll be dire consequences. It requests personal information under the guise of reconfirming information. The Postal Service does not notify customers about package delivery attempts by email. If you receive such a message, don't open it. Instead, forward it to spam@uspis.gov and then delete the email.
Welcome back to Leon County Today. I'm joined by Seth Miller from the Innocence Project of Florida. Seth, some people probably perhaps don't understand everything that you do. Talk to us in more detail about the Innocence Project and exactly what it is you're trying to achieve.
The main thing we're trying to achieve is to find as many people in prison who are wrongfully convicted and free them so we can bring justice to them and their families. I think long-standing in terms of the work that we're doing, it's trying to effectuate changes or updates in policies or the way we do criminal justice work in Florida, responsive to what we've learned from those wrongful convictions in order to prevent them in the future. And that's largely led into our working with, for example, law enforcement associations or within the courts or legislature to effectuate those changes.
What are some of the ICP, we talked about this in one of our sessions, but I think it's important to hear from you and your perspective and the Innocence Project. What are some of the things that you all assisted us in making some changes? I know the double blinds and those kind of things. Can you talk to the audience about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's the sort of upshot, and the only upshot of having so many known exonerations is we see patterns in those cases in terms of what causes wrongful convictions. And some of the main areas are eyewitness misidentification, false confessions, faulty forensics, and a lot of these areas provide an opportunity to work with law enforcement organizations like IACP to develop best practices that are directly responsive to those things. So in the area of eyewitness evidence, IACP was a leader in recommending best practices to remove the possibility of influence, for example, on an eyewitness outcome and help bring more reliability where we can. It's not going to get rid of misidentifications, but the idea is to diminish the number of misidentifications, and IACP was a leader in that.
Yeah, Steph, let's talk about that in more detail. What kind of reactions does the Innocence Project and staff receive when you're trying to engage with law enforcement? I know it's a big question to ask because there's so many law enforcement agencies, but what's it like in the state of Florida?
It depends who you're interacting with, but I do think that perhaps 15, 20 years ago, there was more resistance in the sense that here we have this young band of criminal defense attorneys who have learned these lessons from these cases and are now telling folks in law enforcement what to do. And that's why it's so important when organizations like IACP and other law enforcement organizations come together on their own. You know how to do your work, and you're able to read the social science and gain and understand how to update best practices. And when it's folks in law enforcement who are leading on these issues, it leads to high quality reform, and we stand by and be supportive in that way.
One of the things we sort of pride ourselves on in law enforcement is the use of technology now, and we don't make as many mistakes perhaps as we did previously. But can you talk about how science, DNA, and the sciences have helped us in terms of avoiding some of these cases?
Yeah, absolutely. DNA has been the window to all of this, because I think if you go back to the pre-DNA era in the 70s and the 80s, there was a question of whether wrongful convictions were even a real thing. And we've had almost 400 DNA exonerations, and they've caused us to have to look at our assumptions about the system. We didn't think people could misidentify. We didn't think people could confess to crimes they didn't commit, and yet DNA evidence has proven so otherwise. So it's helped us gain more buy-in for these reforms. When you think about false confessions, we just want to record the entirety of interrogations, which brings transparency and also protects law enforcement from false claims of coercion and things like that. And so these reforms make sense not only for the accused, but for law enforcement as well.
Yeah, one of the things that we try to get across, we talk about community policing. From a community perspective and from the Innocence Project perspective, what kind of assistance would you all like to see enhanced within the context of our communities?
Well, I mean, I think training on issues all around wrongful convictions is a huge thing. I know that you and I have spent a lot of time talking about this, and I think we're far enough down the line now where all law enforcement officers, as they enter into the profession, should gain training on the things that cause wrongful convictions. And over time, you're going to have whole generations of law enforcement officers who are initiated and sensitized to these issues, and it's going to lead to less individuals getting wrongfully convicted and gain greater trust in the community.
Yeah. Well, thank you for this important conversation and for the work that you do. Just ahead in our Deputy on Duty segment, we continue our series, Getting to Know Your LCSO Command Staff, and you might learn something about Shonda Knight. Stay tuned.
A 19-second conversation with a stranger online can put your child in danger of being exploited or abused.
Talking to kids about online safety can protect us for a lifetime. Don't wait. Talk to us today.
I'll be here to hear what's on your mind. Take this time to talk and get it right. You know I'll be there all your life. When you need me, I'll be by your side.
Little everyday conversations about the dangers of underage drinking can make a big difference in a child's life. Talk, they hear you.
The drug landscape has changed. Illegal fentanyl has made its way into the drug supply. And it's a danger you might not see coming. A synthetic opioid up to 50 times stronger than heroin, up to 100 times stronger than morphine. It only takes the tiniest amount to cause a fatal overdose. A fraction of a raindrop, or 3 grains of salt. Your drugs don't come with an ingredients list. Although fentanyl is being mixed into almost every kind of drug, you wouldn't be able to see it, or smell it, or taste it. Fentanyl is one of the most common drugs involved in overdose deaths. Know the dangers. Learn the facts about fentanyl and ways to protect yourself at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
On this segment of Deputy on Duty, the Leon County Sheriff's Office is getting to know their coworkers better.
So
Captain Bruner and I were assigned together to get to know each other as part of our command staff assignment for all of us to really learn more about each other. And you've been here at the Sheriff's Office for more than 20 years. What a career.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride. I think it's right about 22 years. And I've kind of spanned everything from uniform patrol to school resource to a bunch of the different detective bureaus to supervision, and it's been a fun ride. I mean, I've really enjoyed the allowance to do so many different things. I think is it for me, and I know that yourself has had a pretty tenured career with your escapades as well.
For sure. I, of course, had an 18-year television news career, which I loved. But after 18 years, I was getting the itch to do something different. Sure. And so this was a perfect transition for me because it allowed me to be able to utilize my media skills and all of the things I know about how to tell great stories. And the men and women of the Leon County Sheriff's Office, I've learned so much and have been honored to share so much with the public about who we are and what we do. And then the community part of it, just really, building engaging opportunities. So it's been a really great run. Not 9 years. I can't even believe it's been that long.
And I think that's one of the things that I really learned, and as you mentioned, we've run into each other, here and there, just, community events and things of that nature. But what really kind of awestruck me, there's more to it than just the community relations part and, telling the stories of what's happening, not just in terms of, a criminal element, but really the in-depth perspective that you give for the members of the Sheriff's Office, right? And for the longest time, we've needed some humanity behind, the men and women of the Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, I believe in it wholeheartedly. We live in a time now where law enforcement gets a lot of criticism, and it's usually because of that 0.00% that criticism comes. And so it's been an honor to really shed some light on that 99 point whatever percent that go out every day. You guys, you never know what you're going to run into, and the fact that you put your life on the line. So I have so much respect for the work that you do. One other thing I know about you is that you are an avid outdoorsman.
I do enjoy the outdoors.
But and woodworking.
I do woodworking. Yes, ma'am. Many times with this profession, I think I know that it's extremely healthy to have some outlets, right? So, the outlets for me are fishing, going out on the boat. I do like putting my headphones in and doing some woodworking. I know that you have quite the entrepreneurial spirit. So I did not know, and I actually ran into you at this event with my wife, which was a school system event, and you were there with a book that you had authored.
It really is cool, and it was never a part of the plan. Sure. My plan, at least. God has His own plans, which supersedes. But my first book, it started after a conversation with my daughter about loving her hair. She wasn't loving her hair. She was quite frustrated with it, and I had to.
I don't have that problem.
You've got it made over there.
Right.
But she, she was getting ready to go to a dance. She wanted her hair straightened. The weather wasn't having it. So I had to pour into her at that moment and tell her, no, your hair doesn't stay straight all the time. But the beauty is that it doesn't. It can be straight. It can be curly. It can be in braids and all these different things. And I saw her disposition change, and I wanted to share that story. And so, well, I just want to tell you, Brendan, I'm just grateful to be able to work with someone of your caliber.
Well, and I'll echo that sentiment. It was nice to have a familiar face come into the Sheriff's Office when we were, doing some of these investigations that were, they weren't great to do, and it was nice to have somebody to kind of have an ear for all that. It's much appreciated, and absolutely the feeling's mutual on my end.
Absolutely. Good to be all in with you. And hopefully you all learned a little something about us as we've learned about each other.
If you'd like to join the Leon County Sheriff's Office family, apply for a job today at leoncountyso.com. For Leon County Today, I'm Giovanni Hampton.
Download the Leon County Sheriff's Office mobile app right now. Our mobile app makes it easier than ever to report a crime and get important safety alerts. And follow reported crimes in your neighborhood, all in one convenient location in the palm of your hands. Download LCSO Connect right now. It's free in the Apple App Store and Google Play by searching LCSO Connect. You can more details about the features of the app on our website, leoncountyso.com.
Another teenager, victim to fake pills. That smells like big crime that needs to be stopped. Before buying pills online, think about this. Should buying prescription pills be this easy?
Yeah, bro, I'm picking up. Same guy. I bet. Got you 5.
Think these pills are tested and safe? Think they're the same ones you get from a doctor? You know they're not. Did you know that fake prescription pills may contain fentanyl? And an amount small enough to fit on the tip of a pencil can be lethal. Listen, before buying pills from social media, think again. Learn more at mcgruffpsa.org and go for real.
Welcome back to Leon County Today with Sheriff Walt McNeil. Sheriff, I've really enjoyed learning more about all of our command staff members. You know, you challenged all of us to get to know each other better and to pick a partner, and it's really been really enlightening to hear everybody's backstories.
It has been, Sean. I can't tell you, I was impressed with the fact that so many people from so many different walks of life who were engaged in Leon County Sheriff's Office and had so many things in common.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
you think that you don't have a lot, but when you sit down and start talking to people, you find out that your family had the same hardships, had the same challenges, and it fortifies us, makes us understand, and have us at least facing forward to our citizens, gives them an understanding of who we are. We can let our hair down, be human beings, and get out of these uniforms. And that's what it's about, trying to make sure that they understand that we're just citizens who wear this uniform and out there trying to do a good job.
Absolutely. And the Innocence Project of Florida, what meaningful work they are doing.
Yes, I've been involved with the Innocence Project for 20 years or so, and it's our industry. And when we arrest the wrong person, that's the worst possible thing we can do. So I applaud the Innocence Project and the work they do across our state and across our nation, quite honestly. And if there's anything we want to eradicate in my lifetime, that's wrongful convictions.
Absolutely. Another good episode.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you back here next week.